dear colleagues who are here in our premises, in our Ukrainian pavilion, my greetings to you. You are great survivors in such conditions, which are in each pavilion. I think even in EU delegation pavilion, the temperature is extremely high. So I'm very thankful that you come to our side event. And I extremely apologize that we start with some delay due, you see, to such conditions. I suppose that that we could excuse. So, dear colleagues, at the first, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Olga Yushkevich. I'm the head of International Cooperation Department of the Ministry of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine. And frankly speaking, it is my debut. I've never been a moderator before. And maybe it is the second reason why I would make several excuses, and I suppose that everything will go smoothly, especially when our partners, colleagues are online now from Kyiv, and you know that today there was unfortunately a very sad attack on Chernobyl, and there were a lot of victims there because the civil building, not military, was hit by missiles. And I would like to announce 1 minute for the memory of these victims, just at the very beginning. Thank you. So we will start, and today we will talk about how eco-industrial parks or EIPs can speed up the green transition, help countries achieve their Paris Agreement goals, and build term resilience and competitiveness. We will also highlight Ukraine's experience in developing these new green industrial ecosystems. And from the very beginning, it is my pleasure to introduce our in-person participants and colleagues which are connected to us from Kyiv and will participate online. So the first, it is my great pleasure to introduce my colleague from the ministry, Artur Milezhik. He is the head of the Industrial Parks and Investment Support Department of the Ministry of Economy. Artur, I see you. Дуже рада бачити. Ministry of Economy, Environment Protection and Agriculture of Ukraine. Here is he, this guy, yeah. Then Pavlo Kарташов, a Deputy Minister of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine, will join us in person in 15 minutes, because you've already seen. I address to the people who are here in person. He has a very prompt meeting and will join us and make his remarks what he would like to add in our conversation. Then here on place, we have Julien Valéry, Program Manager at Switzerland's State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, SECO. Then on place, we have Kristіан Suzan, UNIDO Industrial Development Officer, Project Manager of Eco-Industrial Parks Program 2 implementation at the national level in Ukraine. And also online, we are having Andrei Belazir, here it is, Deputy Director of the Department of International Partnership, Epicenter Group of Companies, joining us online. Thank you all for being here despite these circumstances and some challenges. I think that during these 2 weeks we used to come through them and have a success at the end. So I would like to make a very short opening remarks regarding our event. Ukraine is the first country in Europe and only the second in the world to adopt a national standard to eco-industrial parks. This is a major step forward. Major step forward, and it shows that industrial development can be aligned with climate neutrality, international best practice, and innovations. Today, our speakers will share how national policy, international partnership, investment, and technology come together to build these green industrial ecosystems. We will look at how EIPs support cleaner production, modern infrastructure, and economic resilience, especially important for Ukraine's green recovery. Now, I would like to give the floor to my lovely colleague, Artur Melezhik, for the first speech at this event. Arture, будь ласка, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Olga. Do you hear me?
Так, дуже добре. Very well.
Yeah. Okay, dear distinguished participants, partners, and colleagues, it is my pleasure to join you online today and to welcome everyone to this important discussion dedicated to eco-industrial parks in the context of sustainable development. Even though I cannot be with you in person, I highly value the opportunity to contribute to a dialogue that is fully aligned with Ukraine's strategic priorities and our long-term climate commitments. Today, Ukraine is moving confidently toward a new model of industrial policy and integrates competitiveness with environmental responsibility and innovation. Eco-industrial parks are central to this transformation. They represent a practical tool for reducing emissions, improving resource efficiency, stimulating cooperation between companies, and strengthening regional development. This year, Ukraine achieved a historic milestone by adopting Europe's first national standard for eco-industrial park. This is not just a technical document, it is a new philosophy of how industry should be developed in the 21st century, cleaner, more efficient, more innovative, and better integrated with local communities. The standard is fully harmonized with the international GEIPP framework developed by UNIDO, the World Bank, and GIZ. This ensures that the Ukraine eco-industrial parks operate according to global best practices and are fully aligned with EU environmental and industrial requirements. For a country that it is on its path toward EU membership, it is a critical step. Additional milestone we expect to be achieved this year after the Parliament of Ukraine voted for the GEIPP amendments to the law of industrial parks. Despite the challenges we faced due to the ongoing war, Ukraine continues to implement the GEIPP approach across the country. With the great support from the UNIDO and the Swiss government, we are conducting assessments, developing roadmaps, training park management teams, and preparing the first industrial parks for future certification. 7 industrial parks have already taken part in this process, and more will join in the coming years. Eco-industrial parks are not only about environmental performance. They create the conditions for economic resilience, attract investors who prioritize sustainability, and support the development of modern, climate-resilient infrastructure. In our current context, this is essential. Green reconstruction is not only possible, it is the best way to a stronger, more competitive Ukraine. I would like to thank our partners UNIDO and SECO, who support Ukraine in shaping a new model of industrial development. Your assistance helps us implement policies that are ambitious, forward-looking, and rooted in the best global experience. I took forward of today's discussion and to the ideas that will further strengthen Ukraine's transition toward eco-industrial development. Thank you for your attention.
Artur, thank you so much for your valuable insights. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Julien Bollery, Program Manager at SECO. Julien, please, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this important dialogue. I'm glad I could make it despite the challenges that you mentioned in your introduction. COP is very busy. We had negotiations until almost 2 a.m. last night. I see also the colleague from the Ukrainian delegation in the negotiations. But I'm really glad I could make it to the event despite the challenges. So I think for us, the shift toward sustainable industrial development is a global imperative, and Switzerland is really proud to support partner countries in achieving this meaningful progress toward green, resilient, and inclusive growth. Eco-industrial parks highlight exactly how climate policy, industrial decarbonization, and economic recovery can be brought together in one coherent framework. From Switzerland's perspective, the value of eco-industrial parks lies in three main areas. First, they help countries decouple economic growth from environmental degradation through reducing waste, emissions, and resource consumption. Secondly, they create also competitive advantages for the industries by lowering their operational costs and making investment environments more predictable. Third, they offer a model for long-term resilience, a critical factor in a world facing growing climate, energy, and geopolitical challenges. So Switzerland has supported eco-industrial parks development now for many years globally, and we are proud of the partnership with UNIDO on this international EIP program. And now coming to Ukraine, Ukraine is a country where the support is both urgent and very strategic. Today, Ukraine is implementing one of the most ambitious green industrial recovery agendas in Europe and even in the world. Despite the incredibly difficult conditions, Ukraine has positioned itself at the forefront of this discussion of industrial transformation by adopting Europe's first national eco-industrial park standard, like you mentioned also in the introduction. Switzerland's cooperation with Ukraine in this area has four key elements that we focus on. The first one is support for national EIP standardization. The second one is capacity building for the management companies. Then there is the resource efficiency assessments. And finally, the development of clear policy frameworks for green industrial development, which also increase predictability and a good policy environment. So we are fully committed to helping Ukraine align its industrial policies with the European Green Deal and its principles, which will then enable for Ukraine greater access to international markets, also climate finance and modern technologies. And for donors, Ukraine also offers a unique opportunity to contribute not only to reconstruction, but to a model of climate smart reconstruction that can then inspire other countries and be replicated in the world. So international partners can help Ukraine scale EIP development by supporting investment in modern park infrastructure, fostering industrial symbiosis and circular economy projects, ensuring small and medium-sized enterprises access to modern technologies, and building strong local institutions that are capable of managing this complex EIP ecosystem. So in Switzerland, we have seen firsthand how this innovation, this responsible resource management, and also good governance can transform our entire industrial sector. It was really a success story in Switzerland, and now Ukraine is taking similar steps in this direction under far more challenging circumstances, and therefore it deserves strong and continuous support from its international partners. And Switzerland will remain a committed partner to helping Ukraine on this journey, and together we can help Ukraine rebuild a stronger, cleaner, and more resilient economy and industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vary, for such important contribution, and thank you for the words of support of Ukraine in future development. Thank you so much. And now I'm pleased to invite Mr. Kristіан Suzan from UNIDO, who will bring us in global experience and lessons learned from eco-industrial park development worldwide.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here on this panel. UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, has the mandate to promote inclusive and sustainable industrial development. And eco-industrial park or an industrial park is the ideal vehicle to promote such development. Let me just shortly share with you what is an industrial park. It is a huge, gigantic real estate development project. Somebody purchases the land, the park management entity. The park management entity provides basic services, develops road infrastructure, provides water supply, takes care of the waste management, and attracts tenant companies. The tenant companies settle, they have their contractual agreement, what is provided by the management entity, what the tenant has to do. And this aggregation of industries allows to work in economies of scales. And the definition of an eco-industrial park, to make the distinction between industrial park and eco-industrial park, is exactly this collaboration, that park management entities and tenant companies work together towards a better environmental, a better social, a better management, and a better economic performance. As you can imagine, it was not difficult to come, first of all, to the name. There are many names: green industrial parks, sustainable industrial parks. So World Bank, GIZ, and UNIDO, we've agreed on coining the better performing industrial park as an eco-industrial park. Nice to have a name. We also need criteria to measure it. What you can't measure, you can't define. So we came up with an international framework. 64 indicators allow you to assess the performance of an industrial park and to see whether it is close to become the ideal eco-industrial park, which complies with all these criteria. Lessons learned is you need to work together. You need to work on two fronts. Under our country level interventions, which are generously supported by SECO, we work on one hand to create a conducive policy and regulatory framework. We've heard of the success story in the Ukraine, the first European country that have adopted an international standard. Basically use this into a national standard, basically to use this international framework and translate it into national legislation. It is not only enough that you have the national legislation, you also need to speak with government. If somebody goes the extra mile to become certified against this national standard, what's the beef? What is in for this private sector entity to become certified? On one hand, this might be financial and non-financial incentives a government can offer, but on the other hand, it's also international recognition. And to foster this international recognition, to make it stronger, World Bank, UNIDO, and GIZ, we are also working towards the development of an international standard. So this international standard will be available by the end of this year, early next year, and we will then support again our partner countries in the adoption of this international standard. The second level you need to work on is to really work with your park management entities, your tenant companies, to support them in their transition from where they are as a normal industrial park to become an eco-industrial park. What we do is, first of all, we work with the individual tenant companies. We do what we promote resource efficient, cleaner production. For me, it's always a no-brainer. If you can show a private entity here, here, and here, you're wasting money, and then you show them they can become more efficient. If you can demonstrate that an investment into resource efficiency, cleaner production, can have an internal rate of return of 28%, as soon as there's access to venture capital, they will do it. For those entities which might struggle, we then also facilitate access to green sources of funding. The next step, once you know your industrial park a little better, is also to work to create these synergies between companies and the park management entity. So industrial synergies can be just supply synergies, but they can also go into what I call the best industrial synergy is if the waste of one company can become the factor into the manufacturing process of another company. And this spatial closeness of different industries in a very confined space makes things possible. You need to start slow. Just want to quote an example from Colombia, from a neighboring country. We have in Zona Franca de Cauca 4 plastic manufacturers. They have 120 tons waste per year. Now a 5th plastic manufacturer has moved in. It's very simple means they collect the waste and produce lower grade plastic products. So resources can be kept in the economy for longer, which is a clear move towards a circular economy. It can also be much more complex. We have in Ninh Binh in Vietnam, a tech fertilizer company which is an environmental nightmare. It's still based on coal. Fortunately, right next to this fertilizer company, we have a technical gas producer. And we did a feasibility study that it makes technical sense and economic sense to capture the emissions, to treat them, clean them, scrub them, till they can be sold as technically inert CO2 to the medical and the food industry. The first step has resulted in 90,000 tons CO2 emission reduction. And the fact that now the gas producer is doubling capacities speaks a very strong language that you can have both. You can become resource efficient and also financially, economically superior. And this is exactly lesson learned from global exercises. And this is what we're going to bring to Ukraine. We're working with our partners from the ministry to roll out this process in the Ukraine, in existing parks. And I think you can all imagine the specific situation, the special situations Ukraine is in, with one part of the country being less secure, industries have started to move. So in the Ukraine, we can also facilitate then the setup of new green eco-industrial parks, some greenfield parks which are already being built as eco-industrial parks. And again, the standard is very helpful because a developer can already think from the onset, what do I need to consider to become an eco-industrial park? And it helps then also to attract investments because it is an additional unique selling proposition. If you can say, my park produces environmentally friendlier, my park produces socially more inclusive, we have a better management, and yes, we are also more profitable. And this is the lesson learned, which we're going to bring to Ukraine and continue to roll it out with the generous support of our Swiss partners from the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, SECO.
Kristіан, thank you so much for sharing such interesting examples of international perspectives. Really, it was very interesting speech. And now I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Andrei Belozir, Deputy Director of the Department of International Partnership, Epicenter Group of Companies. Пане Андрію, the floor is yours.
Мене чути?
Так, чудово, чутно.
Дякую. My congratulations to honorable representatives from UNIDO, SECO Switzerland, and Ministry of Economy, Environment and Agriculture of Ukraine. Thank you also for inviting to join this meeting. My name is Andrew Belozir, and I'm representing Epicenter Group of Companies, the company which operates in such sectors as DIY retail, agriculture, and production. Epicenter also is a member of the United Nations Global Compact, and we are committed to achieving the sustainable development goals such as affordable and clean energy, climate action, sustainable cities, and communities. Our next step to moving forward, it was implementing a carbon neutral industrial park, Eco Agro Hub Podillia Городок. Key focus of realization of this project as eco-industrial park. It's a deep processing of agricultural raw materials. And this project will be provided as vertically integrated model because the Epicenter Group of Companies includes one of the largest agricultural holdings in Ukraine. Respectively, we have the opportunity to grow this and store agro raw materials for the further processing, which is planned to be implemented in the mentioned specified eco-industrial park. And also we are proud to our industrial park became the partner of the Global Eco-Industrial Park Program in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for excellent speech, for sharing your views with us. And according to the program, we are having another speech of the Deputy Minister Pavlo Kарташов But as I have already mentioned and announced, he will join us a little bit later and share all his thoughts. But now I have some piece of interesting questions to you. And if you don't mind, we could jump into more vivid discussion, which will be based on the questions which were somehow prepared by the ministry and by us. So the first question will go to Artur in Kiev. Artur, how do eco-industrial parks help Ukraine to connect climate policy, industrial development, and post-war recovery?
Thank you for your question, Olga. Eco-industrial parks help Ukraine integrate these agendas by providing a unified framework for rebuilding industry according to modern environmental and technological standard. Our national GEIPP standard explicitly links climate objectives with industrial policy and reconstruction needs through energy efficiency, industrial symbiosis, better waste management, and modern infrastructure. GEIPPs reduce emissions while stimulating new manufacturing and creating jobs in affected regions. In this sense, GEIPPs are not separate from the recovery agenda. They are backbone of a climate-smart recovery. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer. The next question goes to Mr. Valery. What tools can international partners offer to accelerate EIP development in Ukraine?
Thank you very much. There are really a number of tools that can be deployed. The first one from SECO and Switzerland's perspective is creating good enabling environments, policy and regulatory frameworks that guide the private sector's investments towards low carbon and resilient economies. So that's the first tool. It's really to have this framework so that the private sector can align its flows with the Paris Agreement and can also have then the predictability and the long-term perspective for investments. It's also important that the countries then have nationally determined contributions, long-term strategies that also provide this predictability for the private sector of what the country wants to achieve in the climate agenda. The second tool, I think, is technical assistance and capacity building, which is also critical for eco-industrial parks. Yes, for the management companies. So capacity building is a second important tool. The third one, it's, I think, standardization, and we also mentioned that to have a coherent and national EIP standards, also that are aligned with international standards, which then makes it easier for international investments to come to countries like Ukraine if the policies are in line with the European Green Deal principles, for instance. Then it helps to access international markets and also to access climate finance. So yeah, that would be the main tools. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Christian, another question, the third one is going to you. What global lessons are most relevant for Ukraine as UNIDO works with EIPs across more than 10 countries?
I think the most relevant lesson is, if you want, we can work with individual parks. We can provide the park management entities and their tenants technical assistance. If you want to scale up, you need not only to demonstrate success stories, but you need to create a conducive policy and regulatory framework. And that's why the reflection of EIP principles approaches in the relevant laws, policies, and regulatory documents of countries is of utmost importance. Why we also consider the adoption of the national standard for eco-industrial parks in the Ukraine as such an important step towards facilitating a scaling up. Because only if you have this conducive regulatory framework, you can have the traction that other parks will follow suit. And again, I would like to quote an example from Colombia, where we work also with a subset of 7 industrial parks and support them in their transition to eco-industrial parks. They've been requested now, these 7 parks, to provide technical assistance to other industrial parks. Colombia was the first country who came up with a national standard. And now other parks have told us, well, you guys, you've benefited from the work with UNIDO. Can you help us to also become certified? And I think this is exactly what we need to achieve, to have this impetus, the first movement in the right direction to create the conducive regulatory framework so there is traction for scaling up and rolling out.
Kristen, thank you very much. If you don't mind, I would like to close this circle of questions. One more question to Mr. Andriy, and I will give the floor to the Excellency Deputy Minister of Ministry of Economy. Just in 1 minute, Pane Pavlo. A question to Andriy. From a business perspective, what make eco-industrial parks attractive or sometimes challenging for investors?
Thank you for your question. Let me answer for the attractive side. So first of all, this knowledge. It's important to analyze world practice. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank you for the Eco-Industrial Park Knowledge Platform organized by UNIDO. And also I would like to thank SECO to support of including Ukraine in the list of countries where will be implemented the program of eco-industrial parks. And so basically, to be attractive, as usual, main points, I would like to mention the location, deep analysis before planning, providing, and start of operation, supply chain, marketing, and of course, unique features. So I think if the industrial park will have all these mentioned features, it has a good possibility to be successful.
Pane Andreas, much for your kind answer, and Deputy Minister Pavlo Kарташов. We apologize once again for some delay and overlapping of not less important events on our pavilion. Pane Pavlo, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you so much for being here today with us, and thank you for the interesting discussion. So first of all, I would like to mention that in the ministry, we are now, after restructuring the cabinet, we have, we call it super ministry, so we're covering not only economy, but we're also covering environment and agriculture. And basically, I believe we're talking today about eco-industrial parks. So basically, it's good combination when we have economic component and environmental component. So it's a great honor to open this panel and welcome everyone who joined us. Again, my colleagues from ministry, they're dealing mostly with industrial park, but from investment perspective, from environmental perspective, I would like to say a few words about this good combination. So today, Ukraine needs not only just investments, but also we need smart investments, we need innovations, we need new technologies in order to make this process sustainable and energy efficient. And obviously, while we're talking about decarbonization and other things during the COP, so this is one of the strategies how we can implement different decisions, different innovations, and so on into Ukrainian industrial ecosystem. So making sure we have we have brought to Ukraine new technologies. We have brought to Ukraine ESG standards, and many we bringing to Ukraine sustainable supply chains and many other things. So our goal is to make Ukrainian park full investment ready. That means that we need to develop modern engineering networks, simplifying procedures for residents, offering financial, non-financial incentives, and insurance links between Europe, between Asia, and all over the world. Eco-industrial parks elevate these ambitions by taking environmental and technological requirements into one core of industrial development. So now we are working on using a package of incentives, tailor-made incentives for eco-industrial parks and residents. At the time being, we already have some incentives for industrial park, and I believe they are now being launched very actively in Ukraine. So there are additional incentives for eco-industrial parks being designed. Also, we are improving the investment climate within industrial park, strengthening cooperation with international financial institutions, and mobilizing green finance. I'll give you a good example. We have a Ukraine facility. We have within Ukraine facility we have a Ukrainian investment framework. It's pillar number 2, where we have mobilized more than 9 billion euros of financing from European Union. And basically, one of the modalities of this financing provided to Ukraine is that 20% of all investments or blended finance or money funds allocation should be allocated to green projects. What that means? That means that obviously this is one of the priorities of government. This is one of the priorities of our international partners, and basically this is a definite goal we are trying to reach. So make our economy and industry more green, more goal-oriented. So to make sure, so we have sustainability. To make sure this is clear signal for IFIs, DFIs, and other investors that we are moving in a green way. And the main logo of this support is main idea is build back better, but we also say build back greener. So that is a good combination of how we see this collaboration and how we see this model. So also I just want to express my sincere gratitude to UNIDO, SECO, who support Ukraine in implementing international standards and attracting green investment into our industrial sector. And this is kind of fundamental cooperation. So I propose to have fruitful discussion and very interesting Q&As, so making sure we can cover all the directions, all the bottlenecks, and so on. Thank you.
Pane Pavlo, thank you so much for invaluable thoughts, and I will continue your last proposal, to get back to our questions, to our vivid discussion. And my next question will be addressed to all speakers. If you don't mind, we will start with Artur, but at the very beginning, I will put my question. Artur, what incentives are most important for attracting green investors to eco-industrial parks?
Thank you, Olga. For green investors, the most important incentives are those that provide predictability, clarity, and alignment with international environmental standards. Ukraine is working to introduce transparent regulatory conditions, streamlined permitting, and the incentives package that supports the adoption of cleaner production and resource-efficient technologies. In combination with modern infrastructure and stable policy framework, these measures significantly lower investor risk and make eco-industrial parks an attractive platform for sustainable investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Artur. Julien, the question is the same to you.
Thank you very much. I think, I agree with what has just been said. The best incentive is for the regulatory framework, like I mentioned, and it's to align and incentives to go into the green, lower emission and resilient investments, and also to reduce the incentives to invest in sort of brown investments. So subsidy reforms are, for example, an important element of the equation to ensure that subsidies to industries go towards initiatives like eco-industrial parks and not to industries that are still not aligned with the ESG standards that was mentioned by my colleague.
Thank you. Kristіan, would you like to add something?
I think the predictability is very important for any private sector entity. They want to know what return they can invest if they go the extra mile, make an investment to becoming more sustainable. And I think this is also where government needs to think about it, where we as an international organization need to make sure that national standards and international standards are very closely aligned. So an industrial park who wants to become certified against a national standard, because this might give him some certain fiscal or non-fiscal benefits, doesn't have to go into this direction. And if he wants to be certified against international standard, he has to go in a different direction. So they need to be aligned. And then the private sector entity can decide return on investment for the certification against the national standard, national benefits. But if I produce predominantly for international markets, and this is the response we get from our partners in Vietnam and Indonesia, they see a certification against an international standard is the most crucial element, because this will give their tenant companies the guarantee that they operate in a socially inclusive and environmentally sound environment, which gives them then a market advantage in their target markets. So it has to be looked at a little bit more distinguished. Predictability is important, and knowledge of what you want to achieve with which benefit and certification.
Thank you. Pane Pavlo, I would appreciate if you could make some inputs from your side to this question.
I also agree with previous my colleagues panelists told, but I just want to add that obviously when we're talking about eco-industrial parks, we always talk not about locations based on cost, but more on sustainability. So with regard to supply chain, with regard to ESG profile and so on, because obviously we have a lot of public companies in Ukraine which are trying to get finance from IFIs and so many others. And very often, first question is whether do you have ESG standards implemented within the company? What is your approaches and so on? And this is probably the whole philosophy on which eco-industrial parks should be based. So it's not about cost, first of all. It's about sustainability, supply chains, and probably infrastructure, modern infrastructure. And I know several Ukrainian businessmen. They are arranging 5 or 6 eco parks now within 5-year period. And the idea is they are bringing European model into Ukraine, but they have innovation pillar within each project. So basically, they are trying to bring more R&D centers. They are trying to bring more startups. So this innovation pillar is very important as well, because obviously it very depends on what you are going to have inside the eco park. So whether it's on the industrial, but on the contrary, you can have modern companies with innovative decisions and obviously with ESG component. So there is kind of a good combination of, as I mentioned at the beginning, of industry with environment, friendly decision.
Pане Pavlo, thank you for this. And I should mention that this question is really very interesting as we are receiving different points of view from different perspectives, international, institutional, and I would extremely appreciate if business could add something to this question. Пане Андрію.
Personally, fully agree for those information and position that was already said by the speakers. But also from our side, while we are in the process of implementing not just industrial park, but an eco-industrial park, we would like to admit that it's the possibility of long-term soft credits is very important, because green and innovative technologies are mostly quite expensive. It's from our experience, and I hope that everybody will agree with that. So the availability of such financial instruments of this nature, as well as the grant programs, is also important, will make it possible to implement green project that will lay the foundation for the development of the park as an eco-industrial park.
Pане Андрію, thank you. And I have another part of question, so we won't stop here and finish. I know that we have enough time, I think, for our discussion. So my next question goes to Kristіан and to Artur. As Ukraine is the first European country with the national EIP standard, what does this mean for regional leadership?
Well, I would say the unfortunate situation into Ukraine came since the Russian aggression has also had some positive aspects. In the past, working on improving regulatory framework in the Ukraine was rather cumbersome. Nowadays, there is also pressure felt, so things move faster. And with this decision to adopt this national standard, Ukraine has taken the European lead. Ukraine is the front country in this development. And we hope that this might also trigger similar developments in countries we cannot support directly, because we work in countries with economies in transition or developing countries. But I think this is then also paired with the existence of the international standard. This will trigger the appetite. But this is where Ukraine can say the torch. We are the first ones who have done this. This will give the Ukraine then also a competitive advantage to attract foreign direct investment.
Thank you. And Artur?
Thank you. I fully agreed with Kristіан, but I want something to add. For Ukraine, this is not about leadership in name. It is about surviving, creating new competitive advantages, accelerating new integration, and showing that in even wartime, we can set ambitious green development standards and achieve it, and show in other countries how Ukraine can do it and provide it in wartime.
Andriy, thank you very much. And my next question is addressed to Andriy. Pane Andriy, how can the private sector and the innovation ecosystem work together more closely to support eco-industrial park development?
In my opinion, if strategy of industrial park development will be generally oriented on resource-efficient clean production and industrial symbiosis, it will lead transformation to eco-industrial park and will increase innovation, ecosystem collaboration.
Thank you, Pane Andriy. My question goes to my boss, Pane Pavlo. Pane Pavlo, how is Ukraine preparing to attract more private capital into EIPs during reconstruction?
Thank you. It's a good question. Well, basically, the approach probably is very clear. First of all, we need to have good infrastructure inside. So I already mentioned that we need modern eco parks with the newest technologies and so on. Secondly, probably we need good incentives. So as I mentioned, we already have incentives for industrial parks, but probably we need more incentives to promote this green agenda. And thirdly, obviously, from a ministry point of view, we need to attract more and more access to more green finance through IFIs, DFIs, and this is part of the job which should be done by the ministry. So basically, we are working on this constantly, and especially here at COP, we have a lot of different meetings, bilateral meetings, and we see a good potential for our future collaboration because a lot of people, a lot of governments, a lot of stakeholders, they are going to invest into Ukraine in reconstruction, but all of them, the main idea is that they are going to invest in decarbonization, in new technologies, and the only green rebuilding. So that is the philosophy of our reconstruction. It should be green.
Pane Pavlo, thank you very much. And my final question will be addressed to all speakers. It will concern finally. Can Ukraine realistically become a European leader in eco-industrial park development? As we have some tradition during this side event, I would give the floor first to Mr. Valery.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think like I already mentioned in my speech, Ukraine is taking the lead globally in implementing these standards. And also in Europe, being the first country to have such an EIP standardization going that far. So definitely, I think Ukraine can be in the lead in this field, and it's also why SECO is contributing to this initiative of UNIDO to help Ukraine take the lead in eco-industrial parks.
Thank you. Kristjan?
For me, I would say it really also depends on how the geopolitical situation is going to develop. It's a sad reality, but this is a fact. For me, there are always three elements which make or break the EIP agenda in a country. It's logistics, labor, and location. That's why Vietnam, looking at the shape of the country, with very short transport distances to ports, has taken such a strong role in the EIP agenda. They have labor, which is qualified and available at competitive prices. There is an ease of making businesses because the government offers generous tax incentives to companies which settle in industrial parks. Looking at the situation of Ukraine, let's say we blank out ceteris paribus, the geopolitical development. Logistics, yes, you're very close to the European Union as an economic hub. Labor, yes, you have qualified working capacity. And logistics, we have taken the first step in the right direction. But good governance, reduction of bureaucracy, the ease of making business, this will then also be a crucial factor to allow Ukraine to take the lead in Europe.
Thank you. Pane Pavlo?
Yeah, I believe this is the full and the best answer to this question, but obviously from the government side, obviously we see now a lot of challenges. So first of all, it's human capital. It's probably challenge number one because obviously a lot of people now at the front lines and basically, and with regard to these front lines, we have also zones of instability. I mean, it's zones which are highly affected, and we cannot consider them now as a good place for investments and so on. But at the same time, obviously, we need to have a good framework government-made framework for investments into green industrial parks. And also what we need to do is just create good communication with potential investors, donors, and so on, to make sure we are communicating, speaking one language. So we need to improve ESG approaches within the companies. We need to do all the things we discussed today to make sure that all the reconstruction process and all the rebuilding will be closely connected to our green agenda. So the home task for the government is to design a framework, and obviously home task for the businesses is to provide all the other elements.
Pane Pavlo, thank you so much. And I would like to ask Pane Artur to add your thoughts to this issue.
Thank you. Yes, Ukraine has already taken a leadership role by adopting Europe's first national GEIPP, as we said before. But with continued implementation of policy and international cooperation, we are fully capable of becoming a regional benchmark of sustainable industrial development. What we should to do is work in a fully cooperation with our partner. Once more time, I want to say my gratitude to our partner from UNIDO and SECO, because it's only our job what was done together with our partners, and I think in future it will be really benchmark for other Europe countries, and not only Europe countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Pane Arture. And the final answer, Andrei, for you.
Thank you for very interesting questions. So, firstly, Ukraine already provided and adopted governmentally implemented decisions to be one of the leaders among the other European countries in the eco-industrial park development. Also, from one side, according to because of war, we have energy collapse. From the other side, we are important. Ukraine is important agricultural raw material exporter. In that situation, from one side, we can use alternative energy to be stable in industrial park and to implement as eco-industrial park. And from other side, we can not only export the agricultural raw materials, but to make some production. So there is one as example what we try to implement is an oil extraction plant to produce sunflower oil and, for example, bioethanol plant, and some raw materials or agricultural waste we want to use to burn it to supply electricity and steam to the mentioned production. So this can be realized as eco-industrial park, and if we'll have such example in Ukraine, I think we will have a possibility for sure to be a country, one of the leaders of implementing and developing eco-industrial parks in Europe. Thank you.
And Andrei, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, today's discussion has already demonstrated that eco-industrial parks are more than an industrial concept. They are powerful instruments where climate policy, innovation, and economic development mutually reinforce each other. Ukraine's adoption of the first European EIP standard supported by UNIDO and the SECO shows that even in times of extraordinary challenges, ambitious reforms can drive a climate-smart, future-oriented transformation. And if I could, I would like something personally from my side. At first, it is my great and endless appreciation that our international partners could join to this event on COP in Brazil. Special thanks to my Ukrainian colleagues that in all circumstances, which are now in Ukraine, in Kiev, in Vinnytsia, Andrei, if you are from Vinnytsia or you are in Vinnytsia now, I see that symbol.
No. I'm not in Vinnytsia. Just a picture, but it's a good part, nice part of Ukraine.
Yeah. It's great. It is also a very good sign that not only Kiev but Vinnytsia is shown during our event. So it's okay. But my additional appreciation to you, colleagues, to you, Artur, that in spite of all challenges, you've organized this event. We have a good audience, and personally, me, I'm extremely proud that I hear all your intelligent, smart, and very deep discussion and thoughts. Endless proud to you and appreciation. Thank you so much.
And thank you for good moderation.